In today's video, we're going to walk you through the most important aspects to consider when writing successful ad copy for any brand new Google Ads campaign. Because we need ad copy that firstly aligns with the user's search query and generates interest to actually get the click, while also making it clear what actually happens next with clear call to actions. And we also want to make sure then that the ad copy matches up with the promise that's going to be on the landing page that'll come after they click on the ad. And just for context as well, this ad will be an example of an ad you'd make for a general landscaping ad group with landscaping based keywords. And this structure can obviously be applied to any different service that you offer. And this video is a part of our free Google Ads course for lead gen that walks through every aspect of creating a successful Google Ads campaign from the very beginning. And we've covered every aspect so far up until this point. And now what we want to do is go through all the aspects that's most important when it comes to writing successful ad copy. So firstly, what you want to do is enter in the final URL or the website that they're going to be going to. We're going to be touching on landing pages later in this course, but I'm just going to enter in a random URL for this. And what you want to enter in for your display paths then is something that's relevant to the service that's being offered in this ad group. So in any industry, for example, if it was plumbing repair, you'd put plumbing in this box and repair in this box. Since this is for landscaping, we're going to put landscaping here and contractor in the other. So that way then after the URL, it's not actually the URL that they click on, but after the URL itself, it will say that specific service. So that way, then it's just further reinforcing that the ad that you put in front of them is more relevant to what they search for. And this video isn't going to be the exact headlines that you should use for your own campaigns. It's more about how to think about actually how to write your own ad copy that's likely to actually get you clicks for your specific industry. And these rules that we're going to walk you through applies to any service-based business for any lead generation campaign. Now, the first thing you want to do and always have inside your ad copy, and this is something you would want to have in multiple headlines and descriptions, is having clear keyword focus. And what we could do here, for example, is start writing our headlines and have something, for example, like trusted landscaping company here as our first headline. And we can see already here that some of our keywords are covered here by Google saying that you've actually mentioned this keyword in our headlines. And what we want to do for each ad group is have all of these keywords covered here so that the ad relevance aspect of our keyword quality score, which we'll touch on in a separate video, is working, because we want to make sure that Google sees our ad as being relevant to all of the keywords in each ad group. And straight away here, we have a couple of keywords here that are considered relevant to this ad because we have landscaping company mentioned. And what I also really like to use in our ads to make sure we have as much keyword focus as possible, which really is the most important part of having a really relevant ad, is what you can do here is use this squiggly bracket icon and enter in keyword insertion. And what you always want to do then is go title case. And what you can enter in then is something relevant to that ad group as well. So landscaping contractor, for example. And this is basically dynamic keyword insertion, which means if somebody searches landscaping companies near me, for example, then that's exactly what they will see when your ad appears. And if what they type into Google is exactly word for word matching up with what they see in the ad, then your ad is straight away a lot more likely to get clicked on. And from that as well, all of our keywords here are covered as being relevant to the ad using dynamic keyword insertion, because if somebody searches landscaping near me, our ad will appear saying landscaping near me. And the reason why we have landscaping contractor here as the default text is that if our ad appears but one of these exact search terms isn't triggered, because somebody might search for something like landscaping contractor near me, which isn't one of our keywords, then landscaping contractor, which is the default text, will appear instead. But dynamic keyword insertion is a great way to make sure that you have as much keyword focus in your ads as possible. What I really also like to do, and also has keyword focus to make the user feel like they're in the right place, is you can also use location insertion. So type the same squiggly bracket again, but instead go with location insertion rather than keyword insertion. And I like to stick with city for this. And what you could put here, for example, is near you, which I'll show you why in a second. And you can just press apply. And outside of the squiggly brackets, then you could type in landscaper because it's obviously landscaping. But what this does then, as you see in the ad up here, is that if Google detects that the person is searching from a specific area in the overall location that you're targeting, then that area that they're actually based in will appear as the headline. And we see here as well with this landscaper Balbriggan, for example, we don't have to type in all of these locations. But if Google detects that the person is based in that location, then Google will trigger that location by default. And if for some reason Google can't detect their location, the default text will appear, so it'll still say landscaper near you, which is still relevant. But if you're targeting an area that has multiple smaller areas within that area, it's a great way to make your ad even more relevant, because if they're based in a specific town and they see an ad that says landscaper in that town, then they're even more reinforced that they're in the right place when they see your ad. So overall, you want to just have as much keyword focus as possible, both in your headlines and descriptions. Now, this will not only increase your expected click-through rate, which is the most important aspect in determining your overall quality score, which will affect your ad rank and overall cost per click, but it'll also steer traffic away from those that aren't looking for what you offer, because if for some reason somehow somebody sees your ad and they're not actually looking for landscaping services, then they're less likely to click on your ad because we've made it really clear exactly what we offer in our ad. And as we touched on in yesterday's video, this is why having the right ad group structure is so important, because the ads that you write are able to be so much more relevant to the keywords of that ad group. Because as you can see here, we just have a few general landscaping keywords in this ad group, and we're not trying to make an ad that's suitable for about 50 different keywords. And that's why we're able to tailor our message so much more to the user's search. And our ads are just so much more effective that way because they really answer the problem that the person has. It's also worth mentioning with your headlines as well that I recommend capitalizing all of the words in each headline as well. So, for example, trusted landscaping company, each word within every headline should start with a capital letter, as it just looks a lot better overall. So, we can add another headline here, for example, get a free quote within minutes, or even just free quote within minutes. You can see here that every headline here is capitalized, and if there was just small letters here used, it just wouldn't look as good as if there's capital letters for the headline specifically. So that was also worth mentioning. And that brings us on to the next point as well, of giving clear call to actions of what actually happens next. And what you can do for this as well is basically tell the user, what to do to actually get your offer. So you might have an offer of a free inspection. So you could say book your free inspection. And typically with your call to actions as well, the more you have these kind of verbs where you're actually telling the user what to do next, you're making it really clear the next steps, and there's no confusion from start to finish. So for example, it might be better to say get a free quote rather than just free quote, because this is more of a benefit rather than a call to action of like telling the user what to actually do next to get in touch. And your call to actions might be completely different depending on what you're offering and what the next step is in the process. It might be a free estimate, it might be a free consultation, but whatever the next step is, it usually isn't just purchase the service straight away. It's usually to get in touch in some way first, and they get something in return for getting in touch. So whether that's a free quote, free inspection, free estimate, free consultation, mention what happens next and what to do. Get that in your headlines and descriptions as well. And apart from having really strong keyword focus, so making it really clear what you offer and how it's relevant to the keywords in that ad group, and having your call to actions, as we mentioned so far, is that instead of highlighting features of what you offer, focus more on benefits of what they would get from working with you, and also things, for example, why they should trust you. And using numbers for this as well is really good when it comes to actually getting attention. So, for example, if you have over 50 plus 5-star reviews, then that's also something you can mention. Or to use numbers as well, you can even have that you're the number one landscaper in Ireland, or else you could even highlight a dollar or euro or pound amount of how much they save by going with you. Because in general, when it comes to actually getting attention from your ads, having numbers in there is a great way of actually getting the click and, drives more curiosity. But you also just want to think of benefits of, what's actually in it for them. because those are going to be the benefits that, help you stand out more. And with those benefits as well, the less generic you are and the less your ads are like everybody else's, the more likely they are to stand out and be clicked on. So you might see that, for example, if all of your competitors are using licensed and insured in their headlines, then you might have something better, for example, 10 to 20-year warranties. Obviously, all these benefits are completely dependent on the service that you offer, but the key point here is to make sure that whatever you use for your benefits are designed to help you stand out and aren't the same thing as what everybody else is saying. So, using actual benefits of what they would get by choosing you is a lot better than using generic benefits, for example, 20 years experience, licensed and insured, award winning, and things like that, that you probably see over and over again in competitors' ads. The more you can stand out from them, the better, and the better your ads are going to perform overall, especially from a click through rate standpoint. And what you can also do with your ad copy as well to stand out even further is, even just in one of your headlines, using a pun or some kind of humor to help you stand out even further. And using tools like ChatGPT works really well for this and is good for giving you headlines and description ideas in general, where you tell ChatGPT that you're looking for, really compelling headlines with keyword focus, benefits of why they would choose you, clear call to actions. But for example, here we just added one, for example, we're motivated, and obviously this is completely dependent on the industry. You could put in your specific industry and ask ChatGPT to give headline ideas where one might include a pun to stand out further. And apart from that, then you just want to make sure that, as we mentioned, your ad copy has as much keyword focus as possible, where you can use dynamic keyword insertion, like we mentioned, to cover all of the keywords that you're targeting. You have clear call to actions telling the user what to do next and what the next step is. So, for example, to book a free inspection or to get a free quote, and also to have benefits of why they would choose you, but without using the typical benefits that all of your competitors are using. And we touched on this in a separate video as well before, but what you can do is use the Ads Transparency Center. Firstly, look at the competitors that you have in the same area that are running Google Ads, and what you can do then is enter in their URL here. So once you actually have a website of someone else that you're competing against that's running Google Ads in your area, have a look at their ads that they're running inside the Transparency Center here. And what you want to do is just look at the ad copy that they're using. And obviously, if they have very generic ad copy, you want to just make sure, regardless, that the ad copy that you're running is better than theirs. And if your ads are showing alongside each other, that your ad is the more likely of the two to actually get the click. Now, it's worth mentioning as well that you don't have to use all 15 headlines if you can't think of unique headlines to use. It really is about quality over quantity here, and if you do want to test out the different 15 headlines and let Google A B test between them, then you can do that if you have enough headlines with keyword focus, benefits of why they would choose you, and call to actions to fill up those 15 headlines, but not to use them if you're just trying to fill in extra space for the sake of it. And the same with descriptions as well. It's two that you have to use at least, but you can use 3 or 4 descriptions as well. And in your descriptions as well, you simply just have more character space to add in that keyword focus, benefits of the way they choose you, call to actions. And you simply want to include the same type of text as what you have in your ad copy, but you simply just have more character space to talk more about, how you can solve the problem that the other person has and why they would choose you. What we'll also get onto as well in one of the next videos is that you also have the option to pin your headlines. So, for example, if you want to have your keyword focus headlines pinned in position one, so for example, the landscaping related headlines will appear in position one each time. So that way, then the first headline that they see will always have keyword focus. And then, for example, you might have your special offer, your book your free inspection pinned to position two. So that way, then you have, for example, keyword focus immediately followed by an offer. Then pinning headlines can also work really well, but we'll touch on that as well in a separate video. And the last point worth mentioning about your ad copy as well. And this comes down to your ad group structure and making sure that your ad groups are structured appropriately. So if you haven't watched the last video, I'd recommend having a look at that one next. But it's worth bearing in mind is that if you're making an ad, you have to make sure that the ads that they click on will match with the landing page that they go to next. So for example, here we want the headline of our landing page that once they click on this ad, that the landing page that they go to will also be specific to landscaping. So that way then there is clear alignment between the keyword search, the ads that they click on, and the landing page that they go to. Because we're not only just trying to get as much clicks as possible, but we're obviously trying to maximize the conversion rate we get as well once they land on our landing page. So we just want to make sure that there isn't any misalignment from start to finish. So those are the main aspects to consider when you're making a new ad to add to your Google Ads campaign when you're setting up your ads. Now, if you do have any questions about anything we mentioned regarding ad copy or anything else related to Google Ads, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you do like this Google Ads related content as well, do consider subscribing to the channel and having a look at the previous videos we've posted so far in this playlist of all the steps that went into creating a campaign so far. And all the future videos that we'll be posting each day will cover the rest of the steps that go into making a new campaign and how to actually manage the campaign as well once it goes live. And if you are a service-based business looking to have all of this done and implemented for you, feel free to have a look at the link in the description, and hopefully we'll see you inside the next video.